The Doppelganger, a tale of shadows and sacrifice. Elena was a young woman with brown hair and bright green eyes. She was quiet and often felt out of place. People thought she was shy, but Elena had a secret. Deep inside, she was scared of losing herself. When she was a child, she felt invisible at home. Her family never listened to her, and her voice faded away, so she learned to hide her true self. One day, Elena decided to go to the Ravenswood Hotel. She hoped it would be a good place to think. The hotel was old and tall, with dark wood and heavy curtains. It looked mysterious, and Elena felt both excited and scared. She thought maybe here she could find peace. But as she entered the hotel, a strange feeling washed over her. The walls seemed to whisper secrets, and the air felt heavy. Elena checked in and went to her room. The room was small but cozy. It had a big mirror and a window that overlooked the forest. She hoped the view would make her feel better. After unpacking, Elena decided to explore the hotel. As she walked down the hallway, she noticed a woman who looked just like her. The woman had the same brown hair and green eyes. She wore a long, dark dress and moved silently like a shadow. Elena's heart raced. Was it her imagination, or was this woman really there? The woman turned and smiled, but there was something strange in her eyes. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. She quickly looked away and hurried to the lobby. The other guests seemed normal, but that woman, Mira, was not just a guest. Elena felt it in her bones. Elena wanted to forget the woman, but she couldn't. Each day, Elena noticed Mira in different places, always watching her. It felt like a game of hide and seek. But Elena was the one being hunted. She began to feel trapped in the hotel, and the shadows seemed to close in around her. As the days passed, Elena's anxiety grew. She started to avoid places where she might see Mira, but it was impossible. Every corner, every hallway, she felt Mira's presence. The hotel became a maze of fear and confusion. Elena had to keep her secret safe. Her fear of disappearing was too strong. But could she escape the watchful eyes of her doppelganger? The hunt had begun. Elena tried to focus on her days at the hotel, but Mira was always nearby. Every time Elena went to breakfast, she found Mira sitting at a table. The woman would smile, her eyes sparkling with a strange light. Elena felt uncomfortable. It was like Mira was playing a game, and she was the only one who didn't know the rules. One morning, Elena sat alone at a small table by the window. She stirred her coffee, watching the steam rise. She hoped to feel calm, but then she felt it, a presence behind her. She turned slowly and saw Mira standing there, just a few feet away. "Good morning, Elena," Mira said, her voice smooth like silk. Elena nodded, trying to keep her expression neutral. "Good morning." Mira sat down without asking, as if she belonged there. Elena's heart raced. Why was Mira always so close? "I saw you exploring the gardens yesterday," Mira continued, her eyes sparkling. "They are beautiful, aren't they?" "Yes," Elena replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "Very pretty." But Mira was not done. "You know, you and I have so much in common," she said, leaning closer. "We are like two sides of the same coin." Elena felt a shiver. "I don't think so," she replied, her voice shaky. She wanted to leave, to escape this strange conversation, but Mira's presence felt like a trap. After breakfast, Elena decided to go for a walk in the garden. She needed fresh air to clear her mind. The garden was full of colorful flowers and tall trees. The birds sang sweetly and the sun shone bright, but as she walked, she felt Mira watching her from the shadows. Elena looked over her shoulder and saw Mira standing under a tree, her gaze fixed on Elena. The smile was still there, but now it felt like a warning. Elena's heart raced, and she quickened her pace, hoping to lose her. But every time Elena turned a corner, there was Mira, always a few steps behind. It was like being chased by a ghost. Elena felt panic rise in her chest. Was Mira always following her, or was it just in her mind? That night, as Elena lay in bed, she couldn't sleep. The hotel was quiet, but her thoughts were loud. What did Mira want? Was she trying to take over her life? The idea made her skin crawl. She needed to keep her secret safe, but the more she tried to hide, the more Mira seemed to know. The next day, Elena decided to avoid the common areas. Instead, she stayed in her room, hoping to escape the hotel's growing darkness. But as she sat in silence, she heard a soft knock on her door. "Elena, it's me, Mira. came the sweet voice from the other side. Can I come in? Elena's heart sank. She held her breath, frozen in fear. No, I'm busy, she called out, hoping that would be enough. Mira's voice turned cold. We need to talk. I know you are afraid. Elena's heart raced. How did Mira know? She pressed her back against the wall, trying to breathe. She felt trapped. What did Mira want? As the minutes ticked by, Elena realized she couldn't hide forever. She had to face Mira, but she had to be careful. The hotel felt like a web, and Mira was the spider. If Elena wanted to escape, she needed a plan, but deep down, she knew that the game was just beginning, and Mira was getting closer. Elena's heart pounded as she listened to Mira's voice on the other side of the door. She felt trapped. What did Mira want from her? She needed to keep her secret safe. But Mira was becoming too close. Elena thought of her childhood, how she had hidden her true self to survive. Now, it felt like she was hiding again, but this time it was different. This time, it was a fight for her identity. Elena took a deep breath. I'm not ready to talk, she shouted through the door. Please go away, Mira's voice was soft but firm. You can't hide forever, Elena. I will find you. Elena's skin prickled with fear. She wanted to run, to escape the hotel completely. But she couldn't. She had nowhere to go, so she decided to take action. The next morning, Elena made a plan. She would avoid the lobby and common areas, sticking to her room and the garden. She would pretend everything was normal. Maybe if she acted like Mira didn't exist, she could buy some time. As she walked in the garden, she felt the sun warm her face. The flowers bloomed around her, and for a moment she felt safe. But then she heard footsteps behind her. She turned and saw Mira, standing a few feet away, watching her with that unsettling smile. Elena felt a wave of panic. Leave me alone, she shouted, her voice shaking. Mira just laughed softly. But we are connected, Elena. You can't escape that. Elena turned and ran. She dashed through the winding paths of the garden, her breath coming in quick gasps. She had to get away. She spotted a small door at the back of the garden, hidden behind tall bushes. With her heart racing, she pushed it open and slipped inside. The room was dark and dusty, filled with old furniture and forgotten memories. It looked like a storage room. Elena closed the door behind her, breathing hard. She needed a moment to think. As she looked around, she noticed a dusty mirror leaning against the wall. She walked over and stared at her reflection. Her hair was messy, and her eyes were wide with fear. She looked so different from the confident woman she wished to be. Just then, she heard the door creak open. Elena, Mira's voice called out, echoing in the small space. Where are you? Elena's heart raced. She had to hide. She quickly ducked behind a large old cabinet. The dust tickled her nose, but she held her breath, trying to be quiet. Mira stepped inside, her footsteps slow and deliberate. I know you're here. You can't run from me. She scanned the room, her eyes glimmering with a mix of curiosity and determination. Elena felt frozen. If Mira found her, it would be over. She could hear Mira moving closer, opening drawers and looking behind boxes. The silence felt heavy, and every heartbeat echoed in her ears. Just when Elena thought she couldn't hold her breath any longer, Mira stopped. You can't keep hiding, Elena. I want to help you, she said softly, but you need to trust me. Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Trust? How could she trust someone who looked just like her? Mira continued, her voice low. We can be powerful together, but you have to let me in. Let me show you who you really are. Elena shook her head silently, her heart pounding. She couldn't let Mira into her life. She had to escape this game. After what felt like an eternity, Mira left the room. Elena waited until she was sure the coast was clear. Slowly, she stepped out from behind the cabinet and opened the door. The hallway was empty. She knew she couldn't stay in the hotel much longer. She needed to find a way out before Mira took over completely. Elena decided to go back to her room, but she felt the walls closing in on her. She had to figure out a plan. She needed help, but who could she trust? David, the charming new guest, had seemed different. Maybe he could help her. With a newfound sense of determination, Elena made her way to find David. She hoped he could help her escape the hotel and Mira's terrifying grasp, but the deeper she delved into this mystery, the more danger awaited her. Elena felt anxious as she walked through the hotel's long hallways, searching for David. Her heart raced at the thought of Mira finding her again. She needed to warn David about Mira. Maybe he could help her understand what was happening. Finally, she found David sitting in a quiet corner of the lobby, reading a book. He looked up and smiled when he saw her. "Elena, I'm glad to see you. How are you?" Elena sat down quickly, her eyes darting around. "I'm not okay. I need to talk to you about Mira. She's not normal. She's watching me." David's expression changed. "I've noticed her too. She seems very interested in you. What exactly is going on?" Elena took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. "I think she's trying to take over my life. I feel like I'm in a nightmare. I can't escape her." David leaned closer, his voice serious. "We need to be careful. She has a strange power. I believe she wants to control you." Elena nodded, her hands trembling. "What do we do?" David thought for a moment. "We should create a plan. If she's watching you, we can trick her. We need to make her believe we're friends. If she thinks she has you under her control, we might have a chance to figure out her true intentions." Elena felt a mix of fear and hope. "Are you sure it will work?" David smiled gently. "We have to try. It's our only option." They spent the next few days pretending everything was normal. Elena acted as if she liked Mira, while David kept a watchful eye. They even shared meals with her, smiling and laughing, trying to hide their real feelings. But deep down, Elena was terrified. Mira was always nearby, always watching. One evening, as they were having dinner, Mira joined their table. "I'm glad you two are getting along," she said, her smile wide. "I think we should be friends." Elena's stomach twisted. "Yes, friends," she replied, forcing a smile. "I'd like that." Mira looked pleased, but Elena felt a chill. She was caught in a trap, and Mira was the spider. After dinner, Elena and David decided to explore the hotel further, hoping to find clues about Mira. They sneaked into the basement, a dark place filled with old furniture and forgotten things. The air was musty and the lights flickered. "Be careful," David whispered. "This place feels off." As they walked deeper into the basement, Elena noticed strange symbols on the walls. They looked ancient, like something from a book of magic. "What are these?" she asked, tracing her fingers over the symbols. David frowned. "I don't know, but I have a bad feeling about it. We should get back." Suddenly, they heard footsteps behind them. They turned quickly, and there stood Mira, her eyes glowing in the dim light. "What are you two doing down here?" she asked, a smirk on her face. Elena's heart raced. "We were just exploring," she lied, trying to sound calm. Mira stepped closer, her gaze piercing. "Exploring or trying to find something? You shouldn't play games with me, Elena. You won't win." Elena felt trapped again. "We're just curious," she stammered, backing away. Mira's smile widened. "Curiosity can be dangerous." Suddenly, the lights flickered more violently, and the room felt colder. Elena shivered. "We should go," she said, grabbing David's arm. But Mira blocked their way, her presence heavy in the air. "Why don't you stay a little longer? I have some interesting things to show you." Elena felt panic rise. "No, we need to leave," David stepped forward. "Mira, let us go. We didn't mean any harm." Mira laughed softly, but it wasn't friendly. "You think you can escape me? You're part of this now. You can't run away." In that moment, Elena realized they had walked straight into Mira's trap. She felt helpless, caught in a web of fear. She had to find a way out before it was too late. With a burst of courage, Elena pushed past Mira, grabbing David's hand. "Run!" she shouted. They dashed through the basement, the darkness closing in around them. They could hear Mira's laughter echoing behind them, filling the space with dread. As they ran, Elena knew they were in a dangerous game, and the stakes were higher than ever. They had to find a way to break free from Mira's control, but time was running out. Elena and David ran through the dark hallways of the hotel, their hearts pounding. They could still hear Mira's laughter echoing behind them. Cold and chilling, they needed to find a safe place to hide and think. "Where do we go?" David asked, breathing heavily. "We can't let her catch us." "I don't know," Elena replied, panic rising in her chest. "Maybe back to my room. It's the only place I feel somewhat safe." They sprinted toward Elena's room, their footsteps echoing in the empty hallway. When they reached the door, Elena quickly fumbled with the key, her hands shaking. Finally, she got the door open and rushed inside, pulling David in after her. Once inside, they locked the door and leaned against it, trying to catch their breath. The room felt small, and the shadows seemed to creep closer. "What do we do now?" David asked, looking at Elena. "Mira is dangerous. We need a plan." Elena nodded, feeling the weight of fear pressing down on her. "We have to anticipate her moves. She's clever and knows how to play this game. We need to think like her." David looked thoughtful. "Okay, let's think. Mira wants to control you. She knows your fears and weaknesses. We have to outsmart her." Elena took a deep breath, trying to focus. "Right. Mira has been watching me closely. I need to show her that I am not afraid, even if I am." David smiled. "That's a good idea. If she thinks you're confident, she might underestimate you." Elena felt a spark of hope. "We could set a trap of our own. If she believes she has the upper hand, we can catch her off guard." They spent the next few hours planning. They decided to create a fake scenario where Elena would pretend to give in to Mira's influence. They would meet Mira in the garden, where there were plenty of places to hide if things went wrong. "I'll act like I'm ready to join her," Elena said, feeling nervous but determined. "I'll talk to her, and you can be nearby, ready to help if I need it." David nodded. "Exactly, I'll be hidden but close enough to jump in if things go south. Just remember, you're strong. You can do this." When the sun began to set, Elena felt both excited and scared. The garden looked beautiful, filled with shadows and colors as the sky changed. But in the back of her mind, she knew Mira was dangerous. She had to be careful. They walked to the garden together, and Elena's heart raced. As they entered, she spotted Mira sitting on a bench, her dark dress blending with the evening shadows. Elena took a deep breath and walked toward her. "Mira," Elena called out, trying to sound calm and confident, "I've been thinking about what you said." Mira looked up, her eyes shining. "Ah, Elena, I'm glad you came. I knew you would see the truth." Elena sat down on the bench across from Mira. "I've realized that we could be strong together. I want to understand more about what you can offer." Mira smiled, but it wasn't warm. "That's good to hear. You are starting to see the bigger picture. Together, we can be unstoppable." Elena felt a shiver run down her spine, but she forced herself to keep smiling. "Yes, I want to learn. Show me how I can join you." Mira leaned in closer, her eyes narrowing. "You're making the right choice. I can help you become who you really are." From behind a nearby bush, David watched intently. He was ready, but he knew they had to keep Mira talking to draw her in further. Elena continued, "But what do I need to do first? I want to be part of your world." Mira's smile grew wider. "There are things you must let go of. You must leave your old self behind." Elena nodded, pretending to be eager. "I understand. I'm ready to change." Just then, David spotted movement behind a tree. It was another guest, walking through the garden. This was their chance. David knew they had to act fast. "Mira," he called out, stepping from his hiding place. "Elena, we need to talk." Mira turned, her expression shifting from delight to anger. "What are you doing here?" Elena seized the moment. "David and I were just discussing the future. I want to become part of what you offer, Mira." Mira's eyes flickered with suspicion. "You're trying to trick me." "No, Mira, I promise," Elena said quickly. "I want to join you, but I need to understand everything first." David stepped closer, trying to buy time. "Mira, let's discuss this. We can all benefit from working together." Mira narrowed her eyes, sensing the tension in the air. "You think you can play me? I won't let you get away with this." In that moment, Elena felt the trap they had set begin to close in. They had to be ready for whatever Mira would do next. She could feel the sinister game taking a dangerous turn, and they had to stay one step ahead to survive. Mira's expression twisted with anger as she looked at Elena and David. "You think you can outsmart me? You have no idea who you're dealing with." Her voice was sharp, cutting through the evening air. Elena's heart raced. She knew they had to be careful. Just as Mira was about to lash out, a loud voice echoed from the garden entrance. "What's going on here?" Elena turned to see a man stepping into the garden. He was tall, with dark hair and an easy smile. "I heard raised voices. Is everything okay?" Mira turned, her eyes narrowing. "Who are you?" "I'm Alex," he said, looking between Elena, David, and Mira. "I'm new here. Just wanted to check if everyone is all right." Elena felt a glimmer of hope. "Alex, we're just talking," she said, trying to sound calm, "but Mira seems upset." Mira crossed her arms, clearly annoyed by the interruption. "This is none of your business, Alex. You should leave." But Alex didn't back down. He stepped closer, eyeing Mira with a mix of curiosity and caution. "It looks like it is my business now. This garden is for everyone. No one should feel threatened here." Elena sensed a shift in the air. Alex had a strong presence, and his words seemed to weaken Mira's grip. "Maybe we can all talk together," she suggested, hoping to keep the peace. Mira glared at Elena, but she knew she had to play it cool. "Fine," she said through gritted teeth. "Let's talk." As they settled into a tense circle, Elena felt the weight of the moment. She watched Mira closely, waiting for the right moment to turn the tide. "So, Alex," she said, trying to keep things light, "what do you think of the hotel?" "It's interesting," Alex replied, glancing at Mira, "but I've noticed some strange things, like how some guests seem to disappear or act differently." Mira shot him a warning look, but Elena saw a flicker of fear in her eyes. "Yes, the hotel has a lot of secrets," Elena said, wanting to keep the conversation going. "What brought you here?" "I needed a break from life," Alex said with a shrug, "but I didn't expect to find such intense company." He glanced at Mira again, a smirk playing on his lips. Mira's face darkened. "This isn't a joke. You have no idea what you're getting into." "Maybe not," Alex replied coolly, "but I can sense tension, and that's never good. We all deserve to feel safe here." Elena felt encouraged. "That's right, we should all be able to share our experiences without fear." Mira shifted uncomfortably, clearly irritated. "You think you're smart, Alex, but you don't understand the power at play." Suddenly, Elena had an idea. "Alex, do you know anything about the hotel's history? Maybe we can find a way to stop Mira together." Alex nodded, his interest piqued. "I've heard whispers about doppelgangers and people losing their identities in places like this. It's not just a story." Elena looked at David, who seemed more relaxed now that Alex was here. They were no longer alone against Mira. "Maybe we can learn more about these stories and use them to help us," she suggested. Mira's eyes flashed with anger. "You're all wasting your time. You don't understand what I can do." But Alex stood firm. "And you don't understand what we are capable of together. You may think you're powerful, but you're not invincible." Elena could feel the tension rising again. She needed to act fast. "Mira," she said boldly, "if you truly want to help us, why not share the hotel's secrets? You can be powerful without fear." Mira hesitated, her confidence wavering. "You think I'll just tell you everything? You're mistaken." "Why not?" David interjected. "If you share what you know, we can find a solution together. We don't have to be enemies." Elena held her breath, waiting for Mira's response. The balance of power felt like it was shifting, and she hoped to keep it in their favor. Mira looked between them, her face tense. "Fine, but know this, I won't let you take control from me. This is my game." Elena felt a mix of fear and determination. They were in a precarious position, but now they had a new ally in Alex. They would need to gather their strength and knowledge if they were going to face Mira head-on. With Alex now in the mix, the dynamics had changed. Elena knew that the battle was far from over, but she felt a sense of hope. Together, they might be able to unravel the mysteries of the hotel and stop Mira from taking everything from her. The game was shifting, and they were ready to fight back. The air in the garden felt thick with tension as Elena, David, and Alex faced Mira. The shadows stretched longer, and the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow around them. Elena knew that this was the moment they had been preparing for. "Mira," Elena began, trying to sound brave, "we need to end this. You can't keep using your power to control us." Mira's expression twisted into a mix of anger and amusement. "You think you can challenge me? You're just a little girl pretending to be strong." Elena felt a spark of defiance. "I'm not pretending. I've seen what you can do. And it's wrong. You can't keep hurting people." Alex stepped forward, his voice steady. "You have to stop this, Mira. We're not afraid of you anymore. You can't hold us captive with fear." Mira laughed, but it sounded hollow. "You think you can talk me down? You don't understand how powerful I am. I've taken lives, identities, everything." Elena took a deep breath. "But you're lonely, aren't you? You think you're powerful, but you're just afraid of losing control. We want to help you find a better way." Myra's eyes flickered with something, was it doubt? But she quickly shook her head, trying to regain her composure. You think you can save me? You're wasting your time. David interjected. No, we're not wasting time. We want to understand. You don't have to fight us. We can work together. Elena felt a surge of hope. We can figure out the truth about this hotel. If you help us, maybe you won't feel so alone anymore. Myra's facade started to crack. You don't know what you're asking for. There are things in this hotel that should never be revealed. Alex stepped closer. Then let us help you face them. We're stronger together. You don't have to be the villain in this story. For a moment, Mira seemed lost in thought, but then her anger returned. You think you can take everything from me. I won't let that happen. Without warning, Mira raised her hands, and the shadows around them deepened. The garden seemed to twist and turn, like they were caught in a dark whirlpool. Elena felt fear grip her heart, but she couldn't back down. Mira! Elena shouted. You don't have to do this. Myra's eyes glowed with dark energy. I will show you true power. Just then, Alex shouted, No, we won't let you control us. In a split second, David grabbed Elena's hand. We need to focus. We can't let her divide us. Elena squeezed David's hand, feeling strength from his support. Together, she shouted, we can resist her power. They formed a circle, standing firm against the growing shadows. Elena closed her eyes, visualizing the light surrounding them. We are stronger than fear, she yelled, her voice ringing with determination. Suddenly, a bright light burst from their hands, illuminating the garden. The shadows recoiled, and Mira stepped back, surprised. What is happening? Elena felt the light growing stronger. We believe in each other. You can't take that away from us. Myra's face twisted in rage. You think this will stop me? Yes, David shouted, his voice filled with confidence. It's time for you to see the truth. Elena opened her eyes and saw Mira faltering. The dark energy began to fade, and the garden felt lighter. You don't have to be alone, Elena cried. You can choose a different path. Mira hesitated, her expression shifting. I don't want to be alone. In that moment of vulnerability, the light grew even brighter, wrapping around Mira like a warm embrace. The shadows that once surrounded her began to dissolve. Mira, let go of your fear, Elena urged. Join us. Mira looked at Elena, then at David and Alex. Slowly, her shoulders relaxed. I don't know how, she whispered. Just take our hands, Alex said gently. We'll help you. Mira hesitated, but then she reached out. As their hands connected, the dark energy shattered like glass. The garden burst into brilliant light, and for the first time, Mira looked free. I'm sorry, she said, her voice trembling. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Elena smiled, feeling a weight lift from her heart. It's okay, we can help each other. As the light faded, the garden transformed into a place of peace. The dark shadows that had once haunted them were gone. They stood together, 4 individuals united in their journey. Mira took a deep breath. Thank you for showing me a different way. I don't want to be a villain anymore. Elena stepped closer, feeling a sense of relief. We all have shadows inside us. It's how we deal with them that matters. As they embraced, Elena knew that they had faced the ultimate confrontation and emerged stronger together. The game had changed, and they were ready to write a new story, one filled with hope, friendship, and understanding. The garden felt peaceful now, but an uneasy silence hung in the air. Elena, David, Alex, and Mira stood together, but Elena could sense that something was still not right. The shadows had disappeared, but a strange energy lingered, and she knew they weren't out of danger yet. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath their feet. What is happening? Mira exclaimed, her eyes wide with fear. Elena looked around, panic rising in her chest. I don't know, but we need to get to safety. Before they could move, the shadows returned, swirling around them like a storm. This time they felt more powerful, more angry. The dark energy filled the air, and Elena felt it press down on her. We have to fight back, David shouted, but as he spoke, the shadows wrapped around him, pulling him away. David? Elena cried, reaching for him, but the darkness was too strong. Mira, we need to do something, Alex shouted, trying to break free from the shadows. Mira looked terrified. I thought I was free. What's happening? Elena felt a deep fear in her heart. We have to work together. We can't let the shadows win. But just then, a voice echoed through the darkness. You thought you could escape me. You think you are free? It was the voice of the hotel itself, dark and menacing. Elena realized that the shadows were not just Mira's power, they were part of the hotel's dark magic. "We have to face this together," she shouted. "We can't give up." As the shadows tightened around them, Elena felt a heavy weight on her heart. She remembered all the times she had hidden her true self, and how much she wanted to be free. "I can't let my friends be taken," she thought. "I'll do it," Elena suddenly declared. "I'll sacrifice myself to save them." "No," David shouted, his eyes wide with fear. "Elena, don't." But Elena felt a strange calm wash over her. "It's the only way. If I let the shadows take me, it will weaken them. You all can escape." Mira stepped forward, her face filled with regret. "No, Elena, you don't have to do this. We can find another way." "I can't let them take you," Elena said firmly. "I need to do this. I've hidden for too long. It's time to be brave." The shadows began to close in tighter, and Elena felt the pressure building. She turned to her friends, her heart aching. "Promise me you'll find a way to end this. Promise me you'll be free." Tears filled David's eyes. "I can't lose you. You won't lose me," Elena said softly, her voice steady. "I will always be a part of you. Just remember me and keep fighting." As the darkness surrounded her, Elena took a deep breath. "I choose to sacrifice myself," she shouted, feeling her energy shift. The shadows seemed to hesitate, and in that moment of weakness, Elena closed her eyes and let go. A bright light burst from her heart, radiating outwards. The shadows recoiled, struggling against the light. Elena felt a surge of warmth and love surround her. She could see images of her friends, their smiles and laughter. "I will always be with you," she whispered. As the light grew stronger, the shadows began to fade, screaming in frustration. "No, you can't do this," they shrieked, losing their grip on the garden. With one final burst of energy, Elena released all her fear and pain. The shadows shattered like glass, vanishing into the night. The garden was peaceful once more, filled with soft light and warmth. When the light faded, David, Alex, and Mira stood together, breathless. They felt the absence of Elena, a heavy weight in their hearts. "Is she gone?" David whispered. Tears streaming down his face, Mira looked at the ground, her heart heavy with sorrow. "She sacrificed herself for us. We have to honor her choice." Alex nodded, wiping his tears. "We must remember her bravery. She showed us what true strength is." They stood together, united in their grief and gratitude for Elena. They knew they had to keep fighting for her memory. They had to ensure that her sacrifice meant something. In that moment, they made a promise to each other. To live fully and fearlessly, to find the truth about the hotel, and to create a future where no one else would have to sacrifice themselves again. As they left the garden, a gentle breeze blew through the trees, carrying with it a whisper. "I'm still with you," it seemed to say, and though they felt the pain of loss, they also felt hope. Elena's light would guide them as they faced the challenges ahead. After Elena's sacrifice, the garden felt calm, but the sadness was heavy in the air. David, Alex, and Mira walked slowly, their hearts aching. They had lost their friend, but her light still shone in their memories. "Where do we go from here?" David asked, his voice trembling. "How can we move on without Elena?" Mira looked thoughtful. "We need to find out more about this hotel. There must be answers somewhere. If we can understand its secrets, we can make sure Elena's sacrifice was not in vain." Alex nodded, his determination returning. "Yes, we can't let the shadows win. We owe it to her to keep fighting." As they explored the hotel, they noticed strange things, doors that creaked open on their own, whispers in the hallways, and shadows that seemed to dance just out of sight. The hotel was alive with energy, both dark and light. One night, they found an old library filled with dusty books. "These might have the answers we need," Alex said, pulling a thick book from the shelf. The cover was faded, but the title read, "The Secrets of the Forgotten Hotel." As they read, they discovered stories of people who had come to the hotel and never left. Each story held pieces of truth about the hotel's magic, and the shadows that lurked within. The more they learned, the more they felt Elena's spirit guiding them. "This place feeds on fear and pain," Mira said, her voice serious. "If we can break the cycle, we can free everyone trapped here." David felt a mix of hope and fear. "But how do we do that? The shadows are still out there." "Together," Alex replied, "we have to unite our strength. We need to face the darkness again, but this time we won't be alone." As they prepared for their next challenge, they felt Elena's presence with them. Her light filled their hearts, pushing away the fear. They knew they had to confront the shadows one last time. The day finally came. They returned to the garden, now a sacred space for them. "We can do this," David said, taking a deep breath, "for Elena." As they stood together, the shadows began to swirl around them, angry and fierce. "You think you can defeat us?" A voice boomed, echoing through the garden. "You will never win." Mira stepped forward, her heart pounding but her voice strong. "We are not afraid anymore. We have each other, and we carry Elena's light with us." The shadows hesitated, sensing the change. The energy in the garden began to shift. David, Alex, and Mira joined hands, forming a circle of light. Together, they concentrated on their memories of Elena, the laughter, the kindness, the bravery. With every thought, the light grew stronger, pushing against the darkness. The shadows shrieked, twisting and turning, but the light was relentless. In that moment, the garden was filled with a blinding brightness. The shadows screamed one last time before they shattered into millions of tiny pieces, disappearing into the night. As the light faded, the garden felt peaceful. But there was still uncertainty in the air. "Did we win?" David asked, his voice filled with hope and doubt. Mira looked around. "I think we have, but the hotel is still here. We need to stay vigilant," Alex nodded. "And we need to remember Elena. Her spirit is part of this place now, guiding us." As they walked away from the garden, they felt a sense of freedom. But the question lingered: who truly won the game? The hotel was still filled with secrets, and the shadows could return. Together, they vowed to protect each other and the light that Elena had given them. They knew the battle wasn't over, but they were ready to face whatever came next. The future was uncertain, but they had each other. And as long as they carried Elena's memory in their hearts, they would never be alone. The game would continue, but they were determined to play it on their own terms.